Welcome to the Crimeycade, and this is episode number 49. Yes, 49 episodes so far. Well, technically it's 50 because I deemed one episode 45 and a half because I did two episodes in 1 week. But no matter. Uh, one more week and I will reach a milestone. 50 episodes of the Crimeycade podcast that I've done so far. And I have a lot to talk about next week. I was planning to go through something this week at the top of the show, but yeah, I procrastinate. And when you procrastinate on something that's pretty complex, you only get one chance to do it right, and I need to do it right, considering what I've been through the past couple of years. And so, next week I will have a bit of a monologue to go through at the top of the program, but be that as may. Let's go through this before we bring in our guest. New scores set at the Goblin Ghost this week. Andrew Owasco finally took Strategy X back from me, 53,000. I was considering running up there this weekend, but I've got stuff to do. I feel like I can't go right now. I need to do what I need to do around here, even though I was home last weekend. But it seems like there's more for me to do that I need to do. So I'm going to put it off a bit longer. I certainly got a challenge card, a new challenge card to complete and get started on, and a couple of other people's challenge cards to finish. But that can sit for a while because there's plenty of time. Anyway, Andrew Owasco also took Midnight Resistance Newhouse High, 1.8 million. John Liming's back. John Liming is back at Galloping Ghost, and he took 3 scores. Riding Fight, 788,000. That was much higher than the T20 score high. John Liming also took Treasure Diver. That was much higher than the T20 high, 41,000 on that one. He also took Vapor Trail, 1.1 million points, taking that for Mossy Zagopian. Blew it out by 500K. But that's not all. Ben Falls is tearing it up. And he's really tearing it up on the classic arcade games. He has cracked 1 million on the original Mario Bros. And he's on his 3rd challenge card. His 3rd level challenge card. So, the early goings, I have not done predictions on betting odds on who the Gamer of the Year at Goblin Ghost Arcade will be, but I think we're going to start that next week. Ben Falls, it's going to be a 2-man race in the early going, I believe. Ben Falls versus Andrew Owasco. We'll see. Brad Buck took the high on Flame Gunner. In fact, he played the best on when it was unveiled as the Monday Mystery Game. 2.1 million points. Final Fight. They changed the settings for Final Fight, so Brian Shillo, who has a 3 million score on Final Fight, that score is intact, but they started all over with scoring. Pete On has beaten Brian Skill's score on the new settings, so he got 2.6 million points. Let's spread this because I don't want to hold up the stream for too much longer. Be sure to follow my Facebook page on facebook.com/thecrimeycade. The chase for tokens. Andrew has passed 9,700 tokens. I've got another typo. Anyway. Jeez Louise. Anyway, Andrew's went backwards. Okay. Power rankings in February 2025. Still in 8th place. Andrew Wasco still way ahead. Tomorrow's the last day for the Arcade Wars game on Metal Slug. Looking like Galvin Ghost is going to lose again. Not even placed in the top 3. One up Arcade's going to run away with it. One more time. All right. That's okay. I think we are now ready to bring our guest in. Our guest this week is a video game historian. He is on five different trading cards in the Walter Day trading card collection. 180, 514, 1951, 3247, and 3248. The reason why he has so many cards is and this cat is almost trying to yank my headphones out. Idiot. Cody, yes, Cody. Troublemaker he is. This gentleman is the author of Phoenix, The Fall and Rise of Video Games. Right now it's titled Phoenix 4. It is, good grief, I can't even see it. Video Game History is the current title of the book. However, I think if there's a 5th edition, he's going to have to put back The Fall and Rise of Video Games, as we seem to be in the midst of a video game crash right now. Talking about the crash of 24 and 25. But anyway, let's welcome in, let me hide this. Let's welcome in the author, Leonard Herman. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, Steve.
StreamYard made a change, and I did not realize that their new setup is a little buggy.
I saw the screen.
Yeah, but everybody else apparently didn't see the slide that I had up, and I know it's like a post-it note in the corner or the side. But anyway, you can hear me okay, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Leonard. So let's start off. How did you get into gaming?
Well,
way back when
in 1973, my local bowling alley had a Pong machine. So, I mean, I'm 66 years old, so I go back.
You go way back, even further than me. I mean, my first video game, yes, I've touched a Pong, probably at a store, but Space Invaders was my first game I got interested in and played.
They had Pong at the bowling alley, and it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. So that got me hooked. And then a friend of mine, who I'm still friends with now, he had the original Odyssey. And he still has that Odyssey, only now Ralph Baer's signature is on it. But we used to play at his house all the time. He used to always beat me. I thought my controller was always broken, but it turned out that there's an English knob on the Odyssey controller, and I had no idea about that. So he always won. And I bought my first console. I wasn't an arcade person. I was spending too much money on games. I couldn't justify going to arcades. But I bought my first console in 1979. That was the Atari VCS. And then, of course, I started collecting every single cartridge that was available for it. So after a while, I decided to write a book about them called ABC to VCS, which was a directory for all the games for the VCS. And I worked on that for about 3 years, and then the crash occurred. And I realized nobody would be interested in a book on VCS games anymore. but I still wanted to write a book about video games. And I said, what is not out there? And there were no history books out there. So I took care of that.
And you started with the first edition.
First
With the
edition was in
paperback.
1994.
This guy's crashed the stream. I know he was going to. Keeps trying to hop in my lap before I could even get going. Desperate. Well, somebody requested his appearance anyway. Go ahead.
No, I said the first one came out in 1994. So it just celebrated its 30th birthday this past December. Second one came out in 97. Third one came out in 2001. Fourth one, there were two versions of it. A black and white one came out in 2016, paperback, and then a hardcover color version came out in 2017, covering up to the year 2016. And now, as you mentioned, I have a fifth one coming out.
You do? You do have a fifth one coming out.
But it's still going to be called The History of the Video Game Industry. Even though it does cover everything that's happened up to 2024.
Well, you might have to add another year because...
no, I'm done. This is it.
Because...
I mean, it's not going to come out. Hopefully it'll come out at the end of this year. My publisher told me the pre-order date when it's going to be available. I don't know if I am allowed to repeat it yet. But that will be closer to the end of the year.
Now, I do want to say, the original book was called The Rise and Fall of Video Games.
The original one was The Fall and Rise of Home Video Games.
Home video games? I didn't know that.
The second edition, I added more arcade information and took out the word home.
Okay. In the third edition, it was Rise and Fall. Yes. But the fourth edition...
No. Fall and Rise.
Fall and Rise. Yes. Well, Rise and Fall is like, I'm trying to break that habit, and I'm like using them both interchangeably now. It is Fall and Rise, yes. Right now, if you look at the video game industry as it stands, right now it's in a fall. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, 2023 and 2024, so many layoffs and stuff. I don't know what's happening right now because I only researched up to 2024. I'm not following anything since then at this point.
Okay. Well,
but 2024 was the worst year as far as layoffs were concerned. I think there were like 15,000 people lost their jobs, I think it was.
Yeah, and this week there's more studios that are closing.
Great.
And some of them were tied to Warner Brothers. But we're getting a little heavy. Well, I have notes written down as to what I wanted to cover, and I'm like, I'm ahead of that. I'm ahead talking about the crash of 24-25. So let's just backtrack a little bit. I talked about how you got into gaming. You said the hook for you was Pong. You played you're more of a home console player versus the arcade player. Let's see. So what was your favorite games for the Atari 2600?
I mean, so many. That's the problem. And if I look back on them now, they're crap. But
well,
I mean,
a lot of them are crap, but there are still several that stood the test of time.
No, of course. I mean, I liked Adventure at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Superman, I loved. Space Invaders, Asteroids, the basic ones. I like strategy games, and off the top of my head, I can't remember which ones they were. I was disappointed when I played. I tried playing backgammon on I think it was the PS4 at the time, on one of the anthologies. And the problem is, without a paddle controller, the game is useless. So that was probably the
I
last one.
never learned how to play backgammon.
Well, I had to learn when I bought the cartridge back in 1981 or so.
There's a video game cartridge based on the game Bridge.
I was just going to say that one I never bothered to learn. So
Yeah, but
that might have been one I inserted maybe once and never visited again.
Yeah, the parents played it all the time back in like when I was a preteen. Like, I don't know how you play it. It was like they had the book too, and it's like, yeah.
I think I bought a book on how to play bridge. I just never bothered with it.
Yes. So as the years, so from the Atari 2600 era, gosh, they're still making games for it. Homebrews.
I know, isn't that incredible?
They're one, I think it's called Champ Games, is translating arcade games that were never thought to be possible in 2600. Robotron 2084.
Oh, okay. I used to try to keep up with every homebrew, but it's just out of control now, so it's impossible. I mean, my book, I did finally publish ABC the VCS by popular demand. People wanted it. So it came out in 2005, I'm sorry. And it included summaries of every VCS 2600 game up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And people are saying, well, when are you going to put out a new one? But I can't. Unless I can include every single game, I'm not going to do it.
Right. And that's, and they're finding games overseas that were not even heard of. Prototypes are still being discovered of games that were never released and were not even known to exist 40 years ago or even in development. I think the most recent game that got discovered was a game called Fish. That was found, they found source code and then they compiled it and, oh, look, an unreleased title.
Oh, is that the one that they were talking about last week?
I believe so. It was,
I didn't hear about that.
They documented, AtariProtos.com has a page written up on that. Well, from the Atari 2600, how did your interest evolve in video gaming? Because Crash 83 happened in 84, and I certainly wasn't I certainly wasn't stopping playing video games. I was wanting to collect more of them despite everything that was going on.
No, they were still making 2600 games during those lean years. Mm-hmm. I refused to get an NES. I hated Nintendo. I thought they were monopoly, but I did get a Sega Master System. And one of the reasons I got the Sega Master System is because in addition to my video game collection, which is rather large, I used to collect Monopoly sets. Mm-hmm. So the Master System, they came out with Monopoly. I think that theirs came out before the NES one did. So I bought a Sega Master System.
So I did buy an NES. The parents were not keen on the idea, but there was a little game called Super Mario Brothers, and that was, despite the crash of 84, the arcade, there was Aladdin's Castle in Springfield in the mall, and I saw Super Mario Brothers on the arcade.
Springfield, Missouri, Illinois you're talking about?
I'm in Illinois.
Okay,
because I'm in New Jersey.
Until 4 years ago, I lived in Springfield, New Jersey.
Well, there was a big contest between all the Springfields of the United States for the Simpsons movie premiere.
Yeah, I remember that.
Illinois got beat out.
Oh, so did
I think Oregon, New Hampshire or Vermont.
Oh, was it? Okay.
One of the two. It was in the Northeast. It's like,
well, it wasn't mine. So
there's nothing around, and this cat's trying to bite my hand. I gotta chase him out here. Thank you. Cody crashes the stream, and somebody wanted his A-Train wanted him to. He wanted to be seen on the stream, but I don't know. He'll reappear later probably. Where am I at? Because I keep going off on tangents. Simpsons movie. So Springfield versus Springfield.
Actually, there is 2 Springfields in New Jersey, and I live close. Yeah, in southern New Jersey, where I am now, there's one about 40 minutes away.
And they had both have the same name, but
apparently one is Springfield Township and one is the township of Springfield.
Okay, that makes sense. One's a township, one's an actual city, incorporated city. So let's go. Gosh, I'm distracted. I gotta get my train on the track here. When you decided to make a book, what influenced you to try to publish a book, your first book? And I guess it was ABC to VCS.
Oh, ABC to VCS at the time was never finished because of Phoenix. I started writing it in 1987. My goal was to get it published by 1992, which would have been the 20th anniversary of the industry. I wrote to about 20 different publishers, and all of them said the same thing. There was no interest in video game history at this time. But I still wanted to put this book out. And there used to be a fanzine called the 2600 Connection. And I wrote a letter to it telling about my 2 books, and people wrote, "Oh, publish a book." So I taught myself self-publishing. This was way before you had Amazon, doing it easily for you. Yeah. I created my own company called Rolenta Press, and then I just self-published. Now, at the time, I thought, the hard part's getting a book published. Once you have a book published, that's it. No, harder than getting a book published is getting distribution. And I had no idea how to do that. I couldn't get anyone to carry it. But fortunately, I got, I sent it to all the magazines, copies of the book. I got great reviews. So word of mouth made the book take off. And people just bought it, through mail order.
I know there's been a few. Cafe Press also does book publishing back then. Amazon was kind of in its infancy.
Amazon wasn't even, maybe at its infancy back in 1994 or 93, but they didn't do the book publishing at that time.
Right. I know there was some paperback books in the 80s that were published. I actually own one of them. I think one of those paperback books was simply titled "Video Games Has a Blue Cover." Can't even remember the author. I think it was Scott Cohen.
Oh, that's The Fallen Riot. That's Scott Cohen was The Rise and Fall of Atari. Zap, The Rise and Fall of Atari. That wasn't self-published.
Okay. I know there's a few different video game books that were released over the years in paperback.
There were plenty back in 83, 82, but no histories. Yeah. Some books.
Oh, histories.
Yeah.
Not even a chat about.
Some books may have dedicated maybe a chapter to the history, but my book was the first one that was just completely dedicated to history of video games.
Okay. So when you began the writing of this book, you had to gather all the material, all the sources.
Well,
to document the story.
Well, I have. I bought all the magazines, electronic games, and I can't remember the names offhand, but I had a huge library of magazines which have information. Plus, while I was doing ABC to VCS, I attended CES 3 or 4 times. So I had all my press kits, which I was able to use for, information.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean I was writing some stuff I wrote about.
Right. Um, and you had to go back even further. I mean, you have documentation on pretty much, gosh, the era before you were even born, or at least before I was even born. There was actually somebody invented the Higginbottom
That was
hooded.
58. But
Yeah,
I
on
mean,
the
I really don't count that as a video game. I mean, this is Ralph Baer's influence on me. Ralph Baer.
right.
So he never counted as a video game because it was on an oscilloscope, and it
Yeah,
was never meant to be commercial or anything. And he even built one himself. I don't know what happened to it after he died, but he showed me he had this little oscilloscope that played tennis for two.
you know, we could hope that it ended up in maybe the National Video Game Museum in Frisco.
Well, if anything, it will show up either at the Strong or the Smithsonian.
Okay. Um, After that, yeah, it was tennis. They called it tennis for two. Um, Somebody developed, gosh,
Or
Steve,
the
what's his
Space War
name?
on the
Yeah,
P1 mini computer. But again,
right.
that's a computer game. And one thing, my book, I don't include any computer games. It's just console, arcade, and yeah, handhelds.
Russell? Yes. Yeah, and then I don't know if these count as handhelds.
No, I see. No, it doesn't. I had to draw the line somewhere. So I decide in the fourth edition, I say I'm only including stuff that was made specifically to play games. And a
Right.
computer, you can do other things on a computer. And when the iPhone came out, when I started writing the fourth edition, I said, well, what am I going to do about the iPhone? And then I just decided it's like a computer. You could do more than just play games on it. So I mentioned it in passing, but that's about it.
Now, you've done 4 editions of the book so far. How did the book evolve, other than basically time passes and there was new history being created?
Well, originally it was supposed to be a pamphlet, a booklet that
Mhm.
I photocopied. And I sent it to a bunch of fanzines, and they all gave it great reviews. And that was what I was selling. But one of the fanzines I sent it to, the editor got a job with Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Right.
And they put out a new magazine called EGM2, which ran every other month that EGM ran. And in their second issue, he had a review of Phoenix. So I said, well, now that the book is mentioned in a professional magazine rather than a fanzine, I have to make the book professional looking. So that's why
Right.
I got into the self-publishing bit. I mean, the cover is very bland. I'm not an artist, but
Right.
so that was the difference between what I call now the prototype edition and the first edition.
Right.
Then the second edition, I added pictures to it, which
Right.
weren't in the first one. They're low quality pictures, but that's what people wanted. For the third edition, I had this great idea. Since the pictures weren't so clear, why don't I make the book 8.5 by 11, so the pictures would be bigger and easier to see? Well, that didn't work too well. I didn't know about pixelation with as you make the picture bigger, it just loosens.
Yeah.
So for the fourth edition, as I said, I took all the pictures over again, redid
Mhm.
everything. Uh, my dream was to get a book in color, but through
Right.
Amazon now, I think you can do it, but back then you couldn't. And
Mhm.
so, as I said, I did this paperback edition, which is all black and white pictures, and it goes up to
Mhm.
the year 2015. And then I found someone who does do color books. And since it took more time to put together, I added the extra year, 2016. And so it's a hardcover book, full color, and altogether there's over 1,000 pictures in there.
and it is available on Amazon.com.
It's available on Amazon. Now, the new one will be in 2 volumes. The first volume will go up to the year 1996, I believe. I have a copy right here.
Oh. Let me put you full screen here.
This is just one I made for myself to, 1996.
It's like the background is interfering, or the simulated background.
yeah, it's a simulated because I'm in my bedroom. I didn't think you want to see my bed or anything.
Well, it's not the first time. I mean, for privacy reasons, some people throw a simulated background. I know
the first time I ever saw that, I said, "Oh, what the hell? Let me try." I mean, if you saw the Atari at 50 anthology, I'm on there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my bed shows in the background. I haven't watched it yet. I'm afraid to. But I was in the same location when I did the interview with them. But anyway, so the first one will be up to 96, from 47 to 96. The second one, as I said, will go from 97 to 2024. And it will be over 1,000 pages between the two. And the first volume will have 656 photos. The second volume I haven't counted yet, but it'll be more than that.
That's a lot of pages. 1,000.
Yeah.
I can see why you had to break it up into 2 volumes altogether.
They wanted to do 1 volume, and I said no. I said the trouble with the fourth, it's a heavy book. The hardcover one, my copy fell apart from all its use. And I said, and plus you have people who may just be interested in the first half of the history and not care about the second half. So, or vice versa. So they said, okay, that's fine. So what I was told was going to be, they're going to do, the book will be available in hardcover, soft cover, both in full color, but hardback, softback, and then the limited runs book division, press run, is putting it out. And they're also going to put out a limited box set. And what that will consist of, I don't know. I have ideas we talked about. I don't know what it's going to be.
I know. Well, let me throw this out there. There's a book. Oh, A-Train's here. Yes. Welcome, A-Train. When they released the Pac-Man book, and because the cat is on my lap, I can't go fetch it. They released kind of a package deal where they had the book inside a special holder.
Oh, I know which book. Oh, the Tim. I can't remember his last name. The Art of. Oh wait, no. The Art of Atari was his first book, and then he just.
I have that one too.
Yeah. Okay.
But the Pac-Man book had the book, a copy of, or I guess a 45 or 33 record of Pac-Man Fever, a collector's coin, and something else in there. It's kind of a package deal, and that was a limited edition. That might be kind of a setup they're going to go with.
I don't know
2 volumes.
Well, my idea was put a third book out included with it, and because each of the indexes for Volume A and Volume B are about 25 pages each. Right. So what I proposed was have one complete index, which will be about 50, 60 pages. And then the first 4 volumes had extra chapters in there in the appendix. I took that out. First edition had something about virtual reality, and I can't remember. I have to go to the old source again.
I will point out the second edition book is on Internet Archive, although you have to get an account to access it. The third edition is on retrocdn.net. I did plow through that book to kind of see some of the stuff you wrote about over the years up to a certain point.
Well, that would have been up to 2000.
Yes. The back of the book, the appendixes were I believe, completely different between the second edition and the third.
Well, the third one, I put in all the books that have been out, all the magazines that have been out, covers of the first and last issue. I don't know if I want to do that again. But what I was saying is I have, for the first edition, I had chapter on multimedia and virtual reality.
Right.
The second and third edition had chapters on computers and the internet. And the fourth edition had a chapter on the story of Tetris, which I think is an incredible story. So I was thinking including those 5 chapters in this little, extra book. And if they could come up with other, plus I also put in the top games of all time and the top systems of all time. And since I can't figure out which book to put it in, I mean, do I put it in volume A or do I put in volume B? I figure this limited book would be the perfect place to put that too. So there's no overlap. But we'll see.
And you drew the line at arcades and home consoles. Is there like a book out on computer game history? Personal computers and mobile game history?
There was from about 30 years ago. I can't think of the name offhand. But, people are always telling me, "Oh, put computers in too, or write a book about computers." A book about computers will be just as big as Phoenix is. And it's not just something you could just sit down and do.
Although technically, the Atari 8-bit system, that is the XEGS, I guess was their end around in releasing their 8-bit computer as a console, so they could get included in your book.
Well, even the Atari 800 and 400 are mentioned in the book, very briefly. But yeah.
It's, kind of a end around. So, gosh, let me read. Go. So there was, I know we're under, a crash is underway right now. But everybody knows about the Crash 83. There was a little known, or at least most people didn't know that there was a Crash of 77.
Yeah. Well, not 77, more like 74 or so.
Oh, 74?
Yeah.
Going even further back.
When the Pong systems were out.
Maybe
not 74, maybe 75 or 76, around there.
When I think 76 would be
when they were releasing, everybody was releasing a ball and paddle console. There are probably hundreds of them available.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, there's that. You can only do the same game like so many times. I don't know why so many people thought they could make a quick buck off of it, and then the demand was there. But
the same thing happened with the VCS with the software.
Yes, 83 was, so many publishers came in, released a crappy game. Atari was still putting out decent games apart from.
The problem was, the way I look at it, is you have Atari, Parker Brothers, they stayed in business. But the problem was, they're spending millions on development, and people are just buying these $5 games. They couldn't care less. So Atari was selling less games. So everything had to fall eventually.
Right. Now, lately, and, so we got the crash going on right now. I keep alluding to it. Last year, Sony plunked down like $500 million on the release of one single game. And you probably know what game it is.
I probably don't, but...
You don't?
Probably not.
It was a live service game.
A what?
Concord. It was like a hero shooter. The game was in development for years, and then when they finally released it, it was like, it just lasted only 2 weeks, and then the game was pulled. And Sony sunk $500 million. That also includes marketing, because Firewalk Studios, who made this game, folded shortly thereafter. That wasn't the only one, but that was probably the record-setting game for most money spent on a flop.
I have to look into this. There's still time to add this.
If you haven't, if it's not included in your book, I would.
Concord, you said?
Concord.
Okay. This is
the problem with the game was.
But this is 2024?
This is 2024. It was released middle of the year. It all, as a live service game, there was physical and then downloaded copies. The game was recalled after 2 weeks, and the live service servers shut down, but not before they sunk $500 million on this game. And the complaints ranged from the characters in the game had all the charisma of a damp rag. They were not. The game was not any better than, let's say, Fortnite or Player Underground or Player Unknown Battlegrounds, which was kind of like battle royale shooters. They thought this was going to be the next big franchise, and players rejected it. And I think last year, and it's still going on into this year, game publishers were hiring people that decided to embed, I guess, lectures on how society should be, like DEI and DEI and wokeism, and people were not willing to spend $50 to $100 on a title with stuff that did not make sense, was out of place, and was preaching to them because, they had to deal with it probably with the workplace and didn't want the lecture at their home leisure time. And several publishers paid the price.
Mm-hmm.
Sony, of course, is the most egregious example at this point. So that's why I was like, the crash of 24, that was a major contributing factor, but not the only one.
So I drew the line at 2025. I don't want, I have like a media freeze on because I don't want to know what's going on, because then I might get tempted to add another chapter. And I got to get this book done.
Well, whatever happened in 2024, you could probably tack that on, or let's say
2024. I still have time to. I have to add something to 2024. I just found out last week that Sony made a new console in 2024.
That's another issue.
If you call the Pico a console, which I do included in the book, they came out with the Pico.
The Sega Pico?
Yeah, they came out with a new one, I think in November.
Oh, Sega came out with it? Okay.
In Japan, not here.
Okay, Japan.
It's called the
I know that Sony put out another version of the PS5.
Yeah, I mentioned the different versions, but to me, that's still the same console.
Yeah, and plus it's more expensive, and they said all these technical advances, although you have to be hard-pressed to be able to notice whatever it added to existing titles.
I mean, I'm not a fan of gaming now. I like collecting. I like physical software, and I'm not interested in downloading anything.
Right. And that's another. So you brought up another topic: physical versus virtual or downloads. A lot of game publishers are trying to get away from physical media, which is
because it's cheaper the other way.
Yes, and plus they don't want the embarrassment of, let's say, burying several million copies of ET in the desert.
Well,
Sony, I guess, avoided that fate because there's very few physical copies of Concord out there that were manufactured because there were majority or like downloads. Probably the last
and
major.
then in 3 years they'll shut the server down anyway.
Right. I think the last title I believe would be buried out in the desert was a Nintendo 3DS game called iCarly.
Okay.
Well, if you don't know who that is, that's like a Nickelodeon kid show. But they put out a game for the Nintendo DS, and it was, I guess, very buggy or unfinished, and there's a ton of those copies, and they ended up, and I got to get rid of the spammer. 1 second. Somebody just decided to come in here and spam, and I'm going to kick him. Anyway, bye-bye. Copies of iCarly, it was like I saw some tub of them mixed in with Angry Birds trilogy. Yes, there was a 3DS or Nintendo DS release of Angry Birds, the most famous mobile game. The most famous mobile game. Which didn't sell, I don't think sold very well because, you could download and play for free on this. Why would you want to play it on a Nintendo system?
You got me.
Well, let's ask about your collection. You have a collection. I know I had somebody a few weeks ago. I don't know if you know this lady, Brandy Amer. She had a giant collection in her basement. What is your collection? What have all you have acquired over the years?
I got more than 400 consoles and close to 4,000 games. I mean, I have, I think, every Japanese console that came out now, most American consoles, and a few European ones.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the pictures in my book is my collection.
Oh, see, now I didn't know that. That's interesting. What's your favorite item in your collection that you got that's
I have
not well
the
not
brown
well
box.
known?
You know what the brown box is?
That would be the Odyssey one.
It's the prototype for the Odyssey, for the original Odyssey. The original one is in a back room in the Smithsonian. And after Ralph donated it, he started making replicas of it for other museums, and he made about 25 altogether. And even the Smithsonian has a replica on display. But I have the first of the replicas.
And you also wrote a book. You've wrote some other books.
I wrote fiction.
Ralph Baer was involved in one.
No, that's his book. I published it. He wrote the book. I came up with the title, Video Games in the Beginning. And I wrote the introduction to it, but that was all his. And also Bill Kunkel, the first journalist, he put out a book. Oh my God, The Game Doctor, Confessions of the Game Doctor. That came out in 2005 also. That book's a good read.
You also wrote some fiction, Unhappy in Heaven and Unforgotten Fiction.
Well, what happened was I've been writing fiction since I was 10. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. And I've written short stories over the year, can never get them published. And then at the end of 2017, I said, oh, the hell with it. Why don't I just put them all in a book, all my short stories in a book, put it on Amazon just for the hell of it. I don't expect this to sell any copies. And I never expected to write any more fiction after that. And then 2 months later, there was a shooting in Parkland, Florida, high school shooting. And that really affected me. I was really depressed. And so I wrote a novel based on it. And that was Unhappy in Heaven. And now I'm writing a spin-off of Unhappy in Heaven. Right now, the working title is The Rules of Heaven. And I really like this one more than the other one. But it's been on hold for a year so I could get Phoenix done.
Okay. Parkland Shooting, yeah, I saw the title, but I didn't dig into what it was all about. So that is interesting to learn. Let me see. You also wrote for gaming journalists, you were a gaming journalist besides being.
Oh, I wrote for Electronic Gaming Monthly. I wrote an article for Game Informer, Edge in England. They published one of my articles. I write occasionally for Old School Gamer magazine, and I owe him a few articles right now, which, as I told him, it's all on hold until Phoenix is done.
Right.
Because he asked me to do a history of Atari. And
Right.
as I was writing it, I just figured I can't do a history of Atari in one article. So I broke it into two. And now it looks like it's going to be a four-parter.
Yeah.
So far, the first two are published.
You have the original Atari, then the Atari under Warner Communications, then Atari Corporation, and then Atari Games, and then whatever it is now.
I like what it is now, actually. I like what they're doing.
I know there's been some. This cat's a backup. Gotta deal with this idiot. Hey, Train, I know you're in the stream. Here's Cody. Say hello to him.
Hi.
Sheesh. He's a ginger and he's ornery and he'll bite and he likes to crash the stream and he'll climb up back there on top of all the games too, and I'm afraid he's gonna throw everything on the floor. I have a CD stand over here. He took that completely down and sent CDs cases everywhere.
That's one of the reasons I don't have any pets. I love animals, but I don't want to take care of them.
Brandy Amer has pets too, and she keeps them out of her game area. She locks them out, doesn't allow them to come in. So
my whole house is filled with stuff, though. So
right. Modern. So you wrote for gaming journalism back then. Kind of do a little bit of it now. I have been seeing stuff this week that gaming journalism is like hanging by a thread, and there may be there's only a couple of online gaming sites, journalist sites left, and they're about ready to go out of business.
The thing is, like everything else, they write what they want. Nobody checks it. I can't tell you how many times I see someone write, Nolan Bushnell was the founder of Atari. Right. No, he was the co-founder of Atari. Let's get it right. And when I write to them, you never hear from them.
Right.
I was in a History Channel documentary one time, and they had a script that they wanted me to recite about Nolan Bushnell, and I refused to do it. So I never got on air.
You say you were. Tell me about the documentary.
I don't even remember which one it was. It was aired, but I wasn't on it. But I was also on about 3 years ago. The History Channel had a show, The Toys That Made America. And they did one episode about video games. So I was on that one too. And the problem with that one was they only used me for Ralph Baer. They didn't use me for anything else about video game history. And they have one authority who's like on every show that they do who doesn't know what he's talking about.
So the book covers year by year. Games have evolved. Obviously, we're in, what is it, generation 9 or 10 now?
I don't even know. I
stopped buying consoles with the Wii.
I don't even use that term in the book.
The generations, yeah. The Atari 2600 was the first console I had.
Which one?
The Atari 2600.
Oh, okay. Now, Now, you know the difference between the VCS and the 2600, right?
Yes. Mine was the original six switcher.
Okay, but even the four switcher is a VCS. It wasn't until
Yeah,
the Darth Vader was the first 2600.
right. And then we had the 2600 Junior.
June, which isn't that's not the real name. That's what people called it. It's really just a 2600.
Right. But the shape of the console is actually smaller than the
Oh
original.
yeah.
And then they finally released the 7800, and then. But
And
my
they
second,
screwed that one up, but
yeah, the second thing I got was the or gaming system, if you want to call it that. Well, I went to college to learn computers. Well, I got an Atari 1200 XL. That was my second unit. What did I have? I believe I got a Nintendo um, in '86. Parents wanted me to start selling off the Atari stuff, but I didn't want to. When I went to college, I won a Sega Genesis in a tournament as one of the top four placers.
see, I skipped that whole era. I didn't buy a Super Nintendo or a Genesis.
So you skipped the 16-bit era
Yeah, I
entirely.
mean the next one I got was I think a GameCube.
I
After
did get.
the
I have a GameCube. I do have a GameCube. That was after the Genesis.
oh, I did have a Genesis 3. That was
Okay.
that was the first system that my kids played on. I remember being so proud when my little 4-year-old was playing Sonic.
Now I did acquire. For a time, I had Fairchild Channel F, but that was because my dad
That's another
remarried.
thing I have an argument about. Channel F is just a paper name. It's really the
Paper
video
name.
entertainment system. It,
Yes.
it doesn't say Channel F on. The second model does. It came out a few years later. It says Channel F, but the original one, the boxes might say Channel F, but the system itself doesn't say it.
No, it says Fairchild, I believe.
The video entertainment system, the
Right.
VES.
My dad remarried, and his wife, who lost her husband to cancer, had a Fairchild Channel F and a television, and she had a pinball machine too. I did try the Channel F back then. It was like had a version of Space Invaders on, and yes, it was. The controllers were really neat, but the system coming out in '77, right before the Atari 2600, could only do so much with the technology that was out at the time. Although someone has managed to port Centipede to it, Pac-Man before that, and it was quite a technical feat.
But you remind me, I did have an Intellivision too also. What happened with that was I was on Activision's press list, so they were sending me games. So I
Yes.
got the games. I got to get in television to play them on.
I did not like the Intellivision controllers. They were just
No,
stiff as hell.
Yeah.
Hurt my hands. Even back then when I was like
Buttons on the
younger.
sides are horrible.
I should ask you this. Besides being an author and a reviewer and an
Not a reviewer. I'm not a reviewer.
not a reviewer, a gaming journalist, or
That's
I'm
fine.
trying to get the correct technical terminology, so I want to be fully accurate here.
Sorry.
Were you back then? Let's say, did you accomplish? I guess were you involved in the competitive scene at all back then? Were you chasing scores? Did you have any significant gaming achievements?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
How good of a gamer are you? That's what I would like to know.
Not a good gamer. Not anyway. Like I said, I was at my peak during the 2600 days, and I wasn't even that great in that.
But you became an author, and because you loved what you were doing or loved the games, you acquired stuff from, gosh, all over the world. You know, you got all the stuff from Japan. Did you get anything from, let's say, other countries?
No, as I said, most of them are Japan or United States, and some from England. I think I got one or two from Germany.
I
In
guess
fact, you know the company VTech?
I've heard of it.
They made educational games and stuff. Their first console was a regular ball and paddle console, and they marketed it just in England under the brand name Grandstand, I think it was called. And I
Okay.
sought one out. I have it.
Why do you think only Japan and the United States basically produced most of the gaming, all
Why
the
did they do the?
gaming consoles and games? Why just those two countries?
Why just those two for cars? I don't have an answer for that.
No idea. That would be something to come up. That would be an answer. Why did South America not produce anything?
Oh,
Although
in South America has a
bootlegs,
big. Uh, I think just I don't know if it's Genesis or Sega Master System. They're still selling them in South America
right?
under a different brand name. Puts them out, but
China was. I know China did some. I think China or Taiwan put out stuff.
or there stuff comes out of China, but a lot of it's bootleg stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, Korea put out Nintendo consoles under the Hyundai brand name. And I
I
have a
believe it.
friend, every time he calls me, I get upset because he tells me about something new I have to look for. But he has an amazing collection of stuff around the world that nobody's ever heard of.
That would be something to look at. So you have 5 different trading cards. How did you meet Walter Day?
At Classic Gaming Expo.
What year was that?
First one, well, it started as the World of Atari in 1998, and then the first Classic Gaming Expo was 1999. And then I went up to Fun Spot a few times when he was there.
I did notice. I'm card 178, so your card like it was 2 spots right after
Oh,
mine.
okay. I have Todd Freeman's book, so I can look it up.
But that is impressive because I think only Billy Mitchell has more cards than you do.
I
And
don't know.
Walter
No, I don't
Day.
know about that. Brett Weiss might have a few. Michael Thomason, I think, has a few.
I only have 2 so far. But certainly not 5. I know I talked with somebody who, gosh, this is too soon. I gotta turn that off. Here, let me drop that. There we go. I know someone was pretty stoked to get their first trading card, and then I walked up to the lady and told them, now you gotta work on getting your second card. And then she got her second card at the Pinball Expo this past October, and I saw
wasn't
her,
invited
and
to
then
that, and I'm very pissed.
do what?
I wasn't invited to that, and I'm very pissed about it.
Oh, the Pinball Expo?
Yeah, do you know Paul Zimmerman?
Yes, I do.
He
And
wanted me to come. I met him in Columbus last year at Korg's, and he wanted me to come. And he talked to, was it Ron Burke?
yeah,
And Ron
Ron.
Burke, he was supposed to make the decision for me to be invited, and he just never did.
Well, maybe he can make it happen this year because Paul had me co-man his booth last year for the 40th, which I had no intention to go there as to sell my stuff but you got me an exhibitor badge, so after I've already bought the 3-day pass, so I mean I was going anyway, but I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to. I was like helping them run his booth, and he was running a virtual pinball tournament at his stand, but doggone it. The gal who when she got her second card, I saw her. She was handing them out, and I walked up and told her, "You unlocked your second card. You got your second card." And told her I was the one who told her she's got to work on her first, getting her second card a few years ago, and then she marked out as
well, we'll see.
You're that guy.
We'll see when the new book comes out if I could get a 6th card.
I imagine you will get a 6th card. Because I imagine you will. And hopefully maybe you'll get, I will be hitting some gaming conventions. I know it might be too late for the Midwest Gaming Classic, which is the next one I'm going to go to. This will be I'm going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen anyway, because this will be my 21st appearance in a row for this one. Yeah, I started in 2020.
I went to the one in 2019.
So 2002 was the first one. And
I went in 2018.
Yeah. 2004 was the first one, and that's when I met Billy and Walter for the first time. And then I've gone to Midwest Gaming every year ever since, including the year where they had 2 of them 6 months apart after COVID. And I'm going back again. And I can't get enough of this one. And last year, I had literally had the blues after MGEC was over because I did not get enough. As I've gone there 20 years in a row, and it was for the first time, I felt like I didn't have my fill of it. And I had the blues for the first year. It's anyway.
Well, this year, I go to the Long Island show every year.
Okay.
That's a pretty good one. And I go to Korg's every year in Columbus. But I decided I wasn't going to go to Korg's this year because I have nothing to sell. I have my novels and stuff, but I'm not going to print more Phoenix 4s with Phoenix 5 coming out.
Right.
And then I found out they probably won't be having a Korg's this year.
Oh, they canceled it?
I don't know if they canceled it yet. They can't find a place on a weekend that nothing else is going on.
You know what? I'm taking a quick look here. Korg's. Well, I could have sworn I had a few convention organizer rounds. Looks like they didn't. Hang on. They did postpone it. They're still working on CorksCon 2025. But this was posted a few weeks ago, so they are looking. But they think they're still going to do it this year. So, I don't know. I think all the attention will just shift to the Cleveland Gaming Convention, which is in the northern part of Ohio. Anyway. I should ask you, while you've written 4 editions of the book, you've probably, no doubt, seen other gaming history books, or at least books that are kind of resembling gaming history or documenting the history of gaming. Have you seen other ones, and what do you think is the best out of the group?
Well, Stephen Kent's is a good book. I haven't read the 2nd edition. Not a 2nd edition. He wrote a sequel to the first one covering later years. But pure history, there's the one, I forgot Harold Goldberg, I think. What's that saying? All your something belongs to us.
All your base belong to us.
Yeah, that was a horrible book. I'm sorry.
It was a mistranslation, and
no, I know the story. Remember, I told you I'm old. I can't remember things.
I'm no spring chicken either. I'm 53, and I'm still score chasing while I can. I want titles. I want championships. I want belts around my waist. Yeah, I'm a regular at the Galloping Ghost Arcade, which I haven't brought that up in this conversation yet. I'll ask that in a bit.
I did win a songwriting contest.
A songwriting contest.
I used to write lyrics. I was a top 25 finalist in the 1989 Music City Song Festival.
Since you brought up music, I no doubt believe you've heard that there's another documentary coming out involving Walter Day.
I saw it, yeah.
I did not know Walter Day wanted to be a musician.
Now, he's been talking about for a few years now.
But he's going to put out a documentary called Arcade and Love Songs, which supposedly is going into theaters. It's going to be in theaters starting tomorrow. Although yeah, I don't know.
I would say the theater that's in where is he? Iowa.
Yes.
It'll be in that theater.
Yeah, that would be a commute to me to run over to Ottumwa. But
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Ottumwa, yeah, it's Ottumwa.
Okay.
It's Ottumwa. I've been there a few times. But I need to find out where this movie is being played besides there. Because I want to see it. I didn't even know it was coming out. I'm still waiting for the documentary that I'm in. That Galloping Ghost is gonna.
Which one's this?
Ghost Lord: The Quest for Dark Presence, which has not been released yet, nor has the game been released yet. But I'm in this documentary.
IGN was going to do a documentary about me, and we would do things for like 2 years, and then the person in charge, she left, so
disappeared.
The documentary died.
I know Galloping Ghost is supposed to, and I'll show this in a bit, but Galloping Ghost is going to be showcasing their.
I've never been there.
You've never been to Galloping Ghost Arcade?
No, I've been to Fun Spot, but never Galloping Ghost.
I have not been to Fun Spot. I'm very much aware of its existence. I've watched video tours of the place, but I've never traveled to New Hampshire. I think the furthest east I've gone is Washington, D.C. and the Virginia coast, but then I had family out there. So if you ever come to Chicago, Illinois, which if the Zimmerman trip happens for the Pinball Expo, I mean, you probably would have made a stop over there. You're going to need 2 full days, going on 3, to go through that arcade, because there's 1,000 and they're going to stop at 1,030 machines on the floor. Some of the games are doubled up, but you need about, 2 going on 3 games to appreciate and get your fill of the collection, because as the largest arcade in the world.
Remember, I was never an arcade person.
Let me ask you this also. I know pinball got invoked once, much earlier in this conversation. Before video arcade games became prevalent, Pong and stuff, the arcades were pretty much dominated by
mostly pinball machines.
Yeah. Skee-Ball? Yes. Skee-Ball was probably one of the earliest arcade games ever created back in, the 19-teens. 1911. Yeah, I looked up the date on that one long time ago. There's Skee-Ball, and then there's all sorts of, various nickel and dime games, but the major type of game that came out was pinball. Have you ever, I know you didn't, I don't think you wrote about it in the book.
Mm-mm. Oh, I mentioned the Atari pinball machines.
Yeah,
And later on, I think Williams put out new ones. I mentioned that in briefly.
and a few hybrids too.
Yeah, the ones that were video pinballs. And I talk about in 2020, I guess from 2018 on, the home versions that they're coming out with from the different companies.
Um, you did you ever? I guess I mean, you did the Phoenix books on covering video game history. Did you ever kind of swerve into doing pinball history?
I mean, I love pinball back in the day, but no, I had no interest in that.
Okay. Um, let's see what else is there. Gosh. So the state of gaming now. Where do you see this? Where do you see gaming going from here? Now that you covered all the way to the end of 2024, where do you see the state of the gaming industry going, despite the crash that's happening?
No, it's hard to say now. I mean, I keep thinking that the latest console will be the last. I mean, I thought maybe the PS4 would have been the last one, and
Yeah.
now they're talking about the PS6.
Mhm.
Then the Xbox Series X and S. Well, now they're talking about handheld games, consoles now. But
I know the Switch, they were kind of making it a hybrid between a handheld and basically
the
the
Switch
game.
is what the Wii U should have been.
Yeah, but yeah, I I don't know if they fully made the. I guess they didn't fully realize the. I guess the Switch was what they originally wanted the Wii U to be. I guess.
I mean, it should have been, but
But what about Sony and Microsoft? How do you think? I mean, they seem to be releasing systems, but
well, they just keep improving on their systems. It seems
and then,
like you said before, the pro system, and then Microsoft came out with an advanced, I think, Series X and S. I don't towards the end of 24, I think.
okay. Um, there's been a lot of plug and play units also.
Oh yeah, I get them.
And I've seen the release of the arcade one-up units. I see one in the background. That's Mortal Kombat 2. I have more of them in my garage.
I don't
Arcade.
have
Yeah.
any. I have nowhere to put them. All my walls are filled with bookcases and stuff.
Yeah, I've got bookcases and stuff in that. That would be basically showing off your game collection, correct?
No.
No?
I have about
What other
2,000.
books you have?
My garage.
Uh-oh. Oh, there
I
we go.
told you I
We're
got
back.
all these Monopoly sets.
Oh, you got Monopoly sets.
Yeah, that's why I got the Sega Master System. I have at least 100 Monopoly sets.
So you're a big fan of the board game Monopoly.
What happened was, do you remember the store FNO Schwartz? It was a luxury toy store in New York.
Okay.
I don't know if it was nationwide. And they had a branch in the local mall, and I went in there, and this is during the 80s. And they were selling Monopoly sets from European countries, like the one from France and the one from England and one from Russia. And I said, oh, I may never see these again. What the hell? I'll buy these. So I bought them, and that's how collections start. You buy this, and then you buy another one and another one. My collection is
It
just
kind of
converted.
sounds like you're
I'm
going to do
also
it.
I'm a big Elton John fan, so I have everything on CD and vinyl and tape. And they just recently in England came out with an Elton John Monopoly, so of course I had to get that one. I'm crazy.
And plus, Jersey Jack Pinball put out Elton John the
Yeah,
Pinball.
I know. I haven't played it. I haven't seen it yet. I want the original Elton, the original Fantastic pinball machine. But again, I had nowhere to put it anyway, so.
Yeah, kind of like the same problem Brandy Amer keeps having to squeak out a little bit more space to add another
Well, the arcade one up because I'm a big Atari collector.
Right.
And the arcade one up came up with the arcade version of the 20, Atari 50.
Right.
And I have every single game on there, but I want that. But again, I have nowhere to put it.
Yeah, that's. You know what I had to do? I had a bunch of arcade games in my basement. Well, if I wanted any more, they needed to come out. I had a new garage built with a room put in the back, added on, and the room is insulated, painted. It's got its own heating and cooling unit, and the arcade games came out of the basement, and they're in that room.
Well, when I moved to South Jersey 3 years ago, I used to live in North Jersey. And after my divorce, I had to find a new place. Right. And I couldn't afford North Jersey anymore. It's just too expensive. I couldn't have a living room like you see behind me in North Jersey. But anyway, so
South Jersey to another state.
Well, it's either leave the state, but one of my sons is here. I don't want to leave him.
Oh, okay.
Or go South Jersey. And the problem with South Jersey is the ground is very soft and there's very few basements down there. And I just lucked out that I found a townhouse that has a beautiful basement. And that's where my entire collection is.
Have you had to deal with hurricane, having to pull all your entire collection out of the basement for a hurricane coming through? Like threat of flooding?
No, when I was living in Springfield, when Hurricane Sandy hit, we never had a flood in that basement. And the people who live in my building, knock wood, say during Sandy, no, their basements were dry after that. So I'm pretty lucky about that. Plus, I look for Zillow shows the flood risk, and mine was very low, even though I'm on the Jersey Shore. In enough where it's dry.
That is fortunate.
But I wouldn't know if I couldn't find this basement. Don't know what I would have done. Like my kids and my ex are telling me, "Oh, put it in storage." I said, "No."
Yeah.
If I put it in storage, I'll never see it again.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard. Yeah. And plus,
I like having it because if I want to write about something and I want to go see it, I like having it accessible 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and those storage units can be broken into.
Oh, I heard horror stories about that.
Yeah. All right. Future goals. Besides publishing the book, is there say anything else that you want to accomplish?
Well, I would like to get my fiction published. Unhappy in Heaven that you mentioned before and Unforgotten Fiction, I published them myself. I would like to get a commercial published fiction. So once I finish Phoenix and get these articles out of the way, I'm going to start writing fiction again. Although I do have an idea for another video game book that's been in my head for about 10 years now, but I guess I'm getting old. I don't know if I want to undertake it.
What did you have in mind?
American consoles.
I guess you do have the collection. What do you in the collection do you consider to be your holy grail, or one of them?
One of them would be and I don't know the brand name, but the PC Engine. They came out with one, of course, only in Japan, where it folds down like the old flip phones. And when you open it up, there's your screen. And you could play the turbo cards through that.
Okay, so a built-in screen. And I kind of know that, I do know that the GameCube had you could attach a screen to it and just play off the cube without a television. But
no, this was its own independent unit that NEC put out.
With the screen attached to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then I got a Sony PSX. I don't know if you know what that is.
A That's a portable unit, I believe.
Nope. It's a huge thing. It's a digital player, and it plays PlayStation games. And it was, again, another one that was only available in Japan. And the problem is, to get them in Japan, the shipping was astronomical. And then I
Right.
found one vendor, one of the shows I went to here, he was selling it. So I had to pick it up. There's a picture of it in the book.
You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to throw the website up. What's your website, real quick?
TheGameScholar.com.
Game Scholar.
The Game
I
Scholar.
should have had that up. Let me see. Here it is. I'm going to put that up. Doggone it. This, I believe, is it. I should have had
And
that
on
up.
there is every video game article I had published. You could read those, download them and read them.
Throw this up here. This should have been a banner. I can't think of everything, unfortunately, but here it is. There's the GameScholar.com. That is Leonard Herman's webpage. And gosh, let me stop sharing. I'm going to share that screen because I have this loaded up somewhere. Show the screen. Show the screen. Yeah, I'm bouncing between windows here. That's not what I want. I want present, share screen, window, that.
See, behind my head, you can see part of my library.
I don't know if I can, but this is it. Head on out there. You can read all about, gosh, what do you got on this site besides the gaming history portion? Gosh, I don't know if I looked through this entirely.
There you go.
Okay, so there's
click that down arrow.
Okay. Feature published articles, yes. Wrote a video game history, and then book articles, trading cards, game. You wrote gaming manuals too. What gaming manuals did you write
for homebrew games?
Okay, Cracked, Save the Whales, Pickup, Rush Hour.
These are games that were released at CGE. They were all prototypes that the CGE guys put out.
This one right here, Looping. I played the arcade game. This was a T20 game at Galloping Ghost. Gosh, this game is... The Coleco version, the Coleco... Oh, this is for entire 2600. I didn't know there was a 2600 version of this.
Coleco did put out a Coleco version. The Atari one was never released until that limited edition.
Gosh, I never even knew about this one. I'm going to have to look. I'm going to have to look for that. But the arcade game, I could play the Coleco version. The Coleco Vision version.
Mm-hmm.
I never played the arcade game until last year. And good grief, can't even get through the daggum pipe maze. Hardly. It's just going too fast.
If you go back, though, my favorite manual is for the Odyssey.
Hold on, get back up. I got to check back to this window here. There we go. Odyssey. Game manuals.
Okay, it'll be further down. Ralph Bear's Pinball, that one.
What we got here? Let's take a look at
that
one.
Okay, download it. Click on download. Now further down, further down. There should be a download button. That's my favorite manual.
Let me make sure that okay, it did shift over there. Good. I have played the Odyssey. Gosh. Yeah, I think the only game that I really cared about on this system was Casey Munchkin, which was
well, he did a sequel, which I wrote the manual also.
Casey's Crazy Chase. See, I did remember that one. Yeah, this was I never owned an Odyssey. My cousins did have an Odyssey 1 for a time, but they had too many problems with it. I don't think they sold it off at some point. But doggone it, I came across at some shop. They had the full blown somebody's was it a resale shop had an entire Odyssey one and with all the overlays and cartridges and the game pieces and stuff. And it's like, well, that thing closed down, and I think the box got separated from the rest of the items, unfortunately. But then again, the guy who ran the shop had been in trouble and been in legal shenanigans for several years. You know, that's a whole story I don't want to even get into. But anyway, let's see. Is there anything else I missed that I need to bring up regarding your career in gaming?
By the way, the Game Scholar, the term the Game Scholar, Electronic Gaming Monthly gave me that title.
Oh, and here's that award, and I got to throw this back up on the screen. There it is. There it is. Look at there. And that is a beautiful award right there. 2003. Yep, there it is. That's the brief history of your gaming career.
I was also the first person to have a letter published in a video game magazine.
Oh, okay.
And that's that right
this
there.
Is it? Wow. I'm reading this letter now. Grief. Yeah. Well.
That's a rejection slip when I tried to get the book published.
Phew, wow. And then another one.
Oh, that's the one I wrote. I told you I wrote to 2600 Connection fanzine about my books. That's the letter. And that was the one that was in EGM too, the first professional review.
Looky there. There it is. That was the first book. And how many copies of this book did you sell of the first edition?
First edition, 1,000. Second, 25. Remember, this wasn't in bookstores or anything.
Right.
So the first one was 1,000. The second one was 2,500. The third one was about, I don't know, maybe 1,200. Fourth one, I don't know, because Amazon handles it all.
Right, and it's still for sale.
Yeah. See, that's where they gave me the Game Scholar, right, where it says the contributors.
And by the way, the hardcover edition, I did look it up, and the hardcover edition is $80.
Yeah.
But there is a paperback version that's not as expensive, but maybe not as
price.
But maybe not as. If you're willing to sell it for paperback, I mean that's an option, and you want the access to the same material. That's probably an option.
Again, there's one chapter that's not in the paperback one, but it's on my web. I have another website called relentapress.com, and you could download that one chapter from there. That website I put together in 2000, and it still looks like it.
I should throw this up there so everybody can see. Rolenta.
ROLENTA Press.
Gosh, I hope I spelled this correctly. No, I did not. Rolenta Press. Video game. Well, Google will correct my spelling. Nope.
ROLEN.
I think that this is it. I think this is it.
I can't see, son.
Yeah, I know. I got to throw this back up there. That it?
That's it.
Yeah,
now, if you click on Phoenix, the top left one.
See, I have to
now click on the right one, the book cover on the right. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. Go back. Oh, these are all the reviews for the book. Go back. See, click here for Phoenix 2016 chapter. And that's the chapter that's not in the paperback one.
And it talks about virtual reality headset. Now, virtual reality didn't really take off, I don't think.
No.
I don't think, well, I've worn the virtual reality headset as like I got disoriented. Although it was quite interesting playing Tetris on one. Somebody recreated Legend of Zelda in first-person view with that headset, and it's like, I for some reason got a little bit of motion sickness wearing that because
I
it's
got
like
both. I have both PlayStation ones. I've never tried either one.
now drones. People are wearing. They've interfaced drones with virtual reality headsets, so you can control the drone as if you're flying. If you're like piloting the thing, well, you are piloting it, but you're not in the drone. You're basically watching the camera of it moving. So that's well. Anyway, I believe that is it for tonight. I don't know if there's any closing comments you have.
I just don't. I was wondering how I could talk 10 minutes, let alone over an hour and a half.
Well, I do get long-winded, yes. I kind of mentioned that it was going to be 90 minutes to 2 hours tops, and we kind of hit. We got above 90 minutes and kind of stuck in. We kind of talked for 90 minutes, and I had my 10-minute monologue and my flub in the early going. But
now, is this just live, or will you have it anywhere?
This was streamed live on Twitch. People can watch the replay on my Twitch channel, and the episodes expire on Twitch, and I move them over to YouTube.
Okay, because when it gets because on my website I have all my appearances, so I could put a link to that when it's up there.
I will go ahead and download this episode and get it up on YouTube. I'll have it unlisted until the Twitch link expires, and then
okay, whatever. Just let me know when you do it.
Yep, I'll do that.
And I'll look into this Concord, and if I include it, you'll make the acknowledgments of the book.
Did you ever? I should ask this. Did you ever write about any of the classic tournaments? The Sega College Tournament, the Nintendo World Championships, or the Campus Challenge? Because I'm the champion of the Campus Challenge.
Well, Walter takes care of that with the cards.
Yes. Yes, he does. Although last year's Midwest Gaming Classic, I ran into the guy who runs the World of Nintendo. He has the World of Nintendo history book. He basically vanished after talking to him because I was going to contribute stuff for whatever he needed from the Campus Challenge for his book, and he just didn't respond to anything I said.
Who was it? Do you remember the name?
Andy Cunningham, and he's going to be back at MSG or MGC. So I will find him and I'll ask him, what the heck happened? You didn't answer any of my emails. What's going on?
Well, I'm having a problem with the first volume of the new book. Joe DeCure wrote the foreword.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I got the book right here.
No, I don't know that one.
This is Andy Cunningham's book.
Yeah, I've never seen that book.
Well, this is the first edition. This covers 87 through 90. He was going to put out another edition that would cover 91 to, I guess, maybe 95 or 96.
I'll look that up. But I was saying, so Joe DeCure wrote the foreword to the first volume. Joe DeCure is one of the architects of the VCS. So then I asked someone else from the 21st century to write one. I'm not going to tell you his name, to write one for the second volume, and he agreed to it. And for 2.5 years, I've been on his back because he says I have to remind him. And then he finally stopped answering my emails. So I found somebody else who said he'll do it. And I sent an email. I need it now because the book's just about done.
Yeah.
And he didn't answer my emails now either. So
I could write for it, but I don't know if I could live up to the writing prowess of the previous authors or the previous editions, which I thought were pretty well written. The ones that I was able to look at.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Leonard Herman, thank you for joining me here on the Crimeycade, and maybe we'll see you around the arcade soon, or maybe one of the game cons.
Maybe. Maybe next year when the book's out.
Well, hopefully the book comes out this year, and the GameCon organizers will sign you up.
Again, that's out of my hands right now, the release date of the book. So
yes,
that's one of the penalties of having someone else do it rather than doing it myself. But I don't want the aggravation anymore.
Well, hopefully I can even find the book, which it would be because when Guinness released the Gamers Edition 2025,
which no one knew about because they haven't done one in 5 years.
Well, I have it because I'm in it.
I have it too.
Yes,
I posted on Facebook when I learned about it, and I go, "Oh wow, I didn't know about this."
Yeah, somebody emailed me about my 91 tournament cartridge and was looking for information on that because they were going to include it as the rarest physical NES game, which there's only one surviving original copy of the 91 Campus Challenge. I did not ask for a copy of it back then after I won the doggone thing. I wish I did. They most likely would have turned me down, but at least I would have asked.
My ex's grandmother had a saying: "No, you have. Yes, you can get."
Well, I didn't even think about it because I was euphoric after winning a car and winning a national championship, and then all the stuff that came. Although I don't think I got out of the shadow of Thor Ackerlund, who was the winner of the 90 Nintendo World Championships. I was always in his shadow because he got more attention than I did. Although I got more attention as the years went on. So when anniversaries were reached, like the 25th and the 30th, and I'm still trying to get in the Video Game Hall of Fame, which is run by.
Well, I want to get into it too, but
we gotta nominate you.
When am I going to get into it? But
somebody's got to nominate you, and which category?
No one does.
I think. Geez, what category could we put you under? I'm gonna look that up real quick.
That's the thing. There's no categories I would fit under.
There is one. There has to be one. I know there is one. Stand by 1 second. Here we go. I'm gonna go to a previous class. It has to go. I think it would go under. I bet lifetime achievement or maybe industry leader. One of those. It has to be. That's got to be it. That would be industry leader or yeah.
So
or lifetime achievement. Lifetime achievement. That's something.
Nominate me.
Yeah, right now. The International Video Game Hall of Fame is kind of in limbo at this moment. The class of 22 was the last one they did, and Todd Freeman kind of clued me in that things are on hold right now. So,
really?
Yes, I don't know what the future of the International Video Game Hall of Fame will be, but everything's on hold right now. So
I got
what?
nominated to the New Jersey Hall of Fame, but I didn't make that either.
I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But anyway, Leonard, thank you for joining me here tonight, and maybe
Okay,
I'll
so
see you around the arcade soon.
thank you, Steve. Yeah,
Or
maybe we'll cross paths. I'll let you know
hopefully.
if I use that Concord. I'm going to look it up now.
All right. Yeah, it's probably the worst example, but not the only example. And there's several AAA games that were released last year and some this year that flopped and flopped hard. But Concord's probably the biggest loser of the whole bunch.
Well, if I find it, it might lead me to other stuff too.
All right.
Okay,
Leonard,
Steve. Take care.
have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. All right. Leonard, Herman, and Phoenix 4 Chronicle History of Video Games, and the 5th edition will be coming out, he says, at the end of this year or early next year. We'll have to see. Before I get out here, I gotta throw a few more items, and apparently I need to throw this back up on the screen because, oh, I did promise a bit of an announcement, didn't I? Who is going to be my next guest? Well, let's get through this first. I gotta back this up a little bit. Tekken 7. So the start time for this on March 22nd has been moved up an hour. So it's going to start 1 p.m., which means I got to haul ass to get there by start time. And I've not been able to get out of Springfield to run up to the Galvin Ghost before 10 a.m. Seems like I'm slow getting out. So I'd have to leave earlier or take a day off and run up Friday. Or regardless, Tekken 7 will March 22nd at the venue. Where on Ogden Avenue is the venue? Or is it on Ogden Avenue? I don't know where it is in Brookfield. Now, they've tried to stream the games live off-site, away from the Galvin Ghost, and it hasn't gone well. The Wi-Fi system doesn't seem to be able to handle the traffic, but I don't know. We'll have to see. After this, Tekken 7 Breaker's Revenge tournament at Galvin Ghost Arcade on April the 27th. The Headless Horseman appearance has been postponed until May, but the game has been named. It will be Mortal Kombat 2. And the Midwest Gaming Classic, they're almost out of VIG packages, so if you haven't bought one, you better hurry up. Otherwise, you're just going to have to buy the day passes. And C2E2, Galvin Ghost Arcade will be going to that at going back to C2E2 with a larger exhibit. I'm not going to be able to make it there this year. I just assume they tried to hold an arcade tournament, but last year it was just me and Jimbo Slice. The previous year, Jimbo Slice was the only one who qualified. There were 2 others that played a couple of the games, but they didn't qualify. So he just won. Jimbo Slice won by default. But last year he was challenged by me, but we did not win. I did not win. So Jimbo Slice beat me fair and square, which is why I did the best of 7 with him so many weeks ago. And if I have the blues following the Midwest Gaming Classic, I have this to go to. Como Retro Gaming Convention, and it's going to be at a larger venue this time around. Northeast Event Center in Columbia, Missouri on 19th of April. And I also mentioned Breaker's Revenge Tournament at Galvin Ghost on the 27th. Well, previous guests I've had on the podcast, those representing Game Central Station will be doing the Shop and Swap in Athens, Georgia, last weekend of April. And that leads us to Combo Breaker, It'll be at the Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center, same place as the Pinball Expo. This is their 10-year anniversary. And I do have this in here. And Michael just throw it up. Breaker and Calvin Jones will be at Combo Breaker and they will be showcasing Dark Presence. Will the game be done? I don't know. Will the game be done? We don't know. But Gubba Ghost Arcade will be showcasing Dark Presence, and tickets are on sale now. There are separate tickets for spectators and those who want to participate in the arcade tournaments. So, who's my guest next week? It's this guy, John Parrish, for episode number 50. Jackson Briggs from Mortal Kombat will be on the Crimeycade podcast. I was searching desperately for a guest these last 2 days, and I fired a message to him fired a message to John because I previously met him. One of my most watched videos on my YouTube channel is Jax Takes on Arm Champs, and that was a sight to behold. John Parrish agreed to come on the Crimeycade here next week for my 50th podcast. Thursday, March 6th at 8 o'clock. Hope you all can join us. Yes, I gave a hint in the Discord server for Bloody Wars. If you're a Bloody Wars fan, you're going to mark out over my guest, and this is it. John Parrish will be on the Crimeycade, and this will be in a I think this individual is the biggest guest I've had, and I gotta live up to expectations here. So, anyway, want to thank those who are in the chat right now: Dark Hater Shack, Jet Corks. Thank you for hanging on with me tonight, and that'll do it for the Crimeycade podcast. And hope to see you around the arcade soon. I will raid a channel, but who will I raid? Well, it'll be a surprise. So, until next time, I'm the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter, Stephen Lucas. I hope to see you around the arcade soon and hopefully next week. And have a good night, everybody.